New York Knicks vs Toronto Raptors, full game highlights NBA Cup Q FDC 9 2025. The New York Knicks stormed into Toronto and dominated the Raptors 117-101, booking their first ever NBA Cup Semifinal trip behind Jalen Brunson's masterful 35-point performance. What a night of basketball we witnessed at Scotiabank Arena in Toronto. The Knicks came into this NBA Cup Quarterfinal matchup knowing they had failed in their previous two quarterfinal appearances, and they were determined not to let history repeat itself. From the opening tip, you could feel the intensity and urgency from this New York squad. They were facing a Raptors team that had been struggling lately, having lost 3 straight games coming into this contest, but Toronto was playing at home, where they'd been pretty solid with an 8-6 record. The stage was set for a competitive battle, but what we got instead was a statement game from the Knicks that showed they're serious contenders not just in the NBA Cup, but for the entire season. Let's talk about Jalen Brunson, because this man was absolutely sensational tonight. 35 points on efficient shooting, and he did it in so many different ways. Brunson has been having an incredible season, averaging 28 points per game, and tonight he reminded everyone why he's become one of the elite guards in this league. What makes Brunson so special is his ability to control the pace of the game. He's not the fastest player on the court, he's not jumping out of the gym, but he has this incredible feel for when to attack, when to pull up, and when to get his teammates involved. In the first quarter, you could see him testing the Raptors' defense, probing to see what they were giving him. Toronto tried different defenders on him throughout the night, but nobody could really slow him down. His mid-range game was cooking. He got to the basket when he wanted to, and he knocked down his three-pointers when Toronto tried to go under screens. That 35-point performance wasn't just about scoring either. Brunson was orchestrating the offense, making sure everyone got their touches, and his leadership on the court was evident throughout the entire 48 minutes. Josh Hart was the perfect complement to Brunson tonight with 21 points of his own. Hart has turned himself into such a valuable player for this Knicks team. He does all the dirty work that doesn't always show up in the box score, but tonight his scoring was crucial, especially in that second quarter when New York really pulled away. Hart is one of those players who impacts winning in so many ways. He's crashing the boards, he's making the right passes, he's defending multiple positions, and when his shot is falling like it was tonight, he becomes even more dangerous. The connection between Brunson and Hart has been developing over time, and you can see they have real chemistry on the court. They understand each other's games. They know where each other is going to be, and that makes the Knicks' offense so much harder to defend. What's been impressive about Towns' time in New York is how he's adapted his game to fit alongside Brunson. He's not demanding as many touches as he did in Minnesota. He's being more selective with his shots, and he's really embracing the defensive end and rebounding responsibilities. There was some concern before the game because Towns had missed the previous game against Orlando with tightness in his left calf, but he came back and showed no ill effects. His presence in the paint was felt all night long, and Toronto struggled to score inside with him, protecting the rim. Anunoby is one of the best wing defenders in the league, and he spent significant time guarding Toronto's best scorers. The Knicks have built something special with this core group of players. They have star power with Brunson and Towns. They have versatile two-way players like Bridges and Anunoby, and they have gritty competitors like Hart who just make winning plays. For Toronto, this was a disappointing night on their home floor. Brandon Ingram led the way with 31 points, and he actually started the game on fire with 17 points in the first quarter alone. Ingram showed why he's been such a valuable addition to the Raptors this season. His scoring ability and shot creation takes so much pressure off the rest of the roster. In that first quarter, it looked like Ingram might be en route to a massive night. He was hitting tough fadeaways, he was getting to the rim, and the Knicks didn't seem to have an answer for him early on. But basketball is a 48-minute game, and after that explosive first quarter, the Knicks made adjustments. They started throwing different looks at him. They were more physical with him, and they made sure he didn't get comfortable. Ingram still finished with 31 points, which is a solid performance. But after that first quarter, he needed far more shots to get there, and nobody else on Toronto really stepped up to help him carry the offensive load. The key to this game was really that second quarter, and the numbers tell the story clearly. The Knicks outscored Toronto 34-13 in that period, and that's where they broke the game open. Going into the second quarter, Toronto had a slight edge, and the game was competitive. The Raptors were at home. Their crowd was into it, and it felt like we might be in for a close battle all night. But then New York just flipped a switch defensively. They started getting stops. They were pushing the pace in transition, and suddenly Toronto couldn't buy a bucket. 13 points in an entire quarter is rough for any NBA team. That's less than a point per minute. The Knicks were swarming on defense. They were contesting every shot, and they were making Toronto work for everything. On the offensive end, New York was moving the ball beautifully. They were getting great looks, and they were knocking down shots. By halftime, the Knicks had built a 69-52 lead, and that 17-point cushion essentially decided the game. What made that second quarter surge even more impressive was how methodical the Knicks were. They weren't just running and gunning. They weren't taking wild shots. They were playing smart, controlled basketball. Brunson was picking apart the defense, finding open shooters, attacking when he had advantages. Hart was crashing the boards and creating second-chance opportunities. Towns was setting solid screens and rolling to the rim. Bridges and Anunoby were knocking down open threes. Everything was working in harmony, and Toronto just had no answers. The Raptors tried to make adjustments. They called timeouts, but they couldn't stop the bleeding. By the time that second quarter ended, you could feel the air come out of Scotiabank Arena. The home crowd knew their team was in serious trouble. In the second half, it became about the Knicks maintaining their lead and not letting Toronto back into the game. The Raptors tried to make pushes at various points. They'd string together a few baskets, cut the lead to maybe 13 or 14 points, and you'd wonder if they could make it interesting. But every time Toronto threatened, New York had an answer. Brunson would hit a tough shot, or Hart would grab an offensive rebound and score, or Towns would make a big defensive play. The Knicks showed tremendous composure and maturity in protecting their lead. They didn't panic. They didn't start jacking up bad shots. They just kept executing their offense and playing solid defense. The third quarter ended with New York ahead 94-79, and at that point the outcome was pretty much decided. The Knicks had a 15-point lead heading into the fourth quarter, and they were playing with so much confidence. Toronto needed to put together a perfect final 12 minutes just to have a chance, and that wasn't going to happen against a Knicks team that was locked in defensively. The fourth quarter played out as expected, with New York maintaining control and Toronto never really threatening to make it a game. The final score of 117-101 doesn't even fully capture how dominant the Knicks were for large stretches of this game. Looking at the team statistics gives you even more insight into how this game unfolded. The Knicks shot 53% from the field compared to Toronto's 43%. That's a 10 percentage point difference, and over the course of a game that adds up significantly. New York was also much better from three-point range, shooting 46% compared to Toronto's 29%. That three-point shooting disparity was massive. The Knicks were knocking down their open looks from beyond the arc, while the Raptors were struggling to find any rhythm from distance. When you're getting outshot by that margin, both overall and from three, it's really hard to win basketball games. The rebounding was also tilted in New York's favor, with the Knicks grabbing 48 boards compared to Toronto's 37. That 11 rebound advantage meant more possessions for New York and fewer second-chance opportunities for Toronto. Interestingly, both teams had 14 turnovers, so it wasn't a case of one team being careless with the ball. This was simply about the Knicks executing better on both ends of the floor. The atmosphere at Scotiabank Arena started out electric, with over 17,000 fans packing the building hoping to see their Raptors advance in the NBA Cup. But as that second quarter unfolded, and the Knicks took control, you could feel the energy draining from the building. Credit to the Toronto fans who stuck around and